Okay, then welcome very much, IrishJohnGames, for today's podcast. So this setup is a little bit different to what we are used to, since you are also streaming it to Twitch, and I'm just looking at it on my other screen here. So I'm seeing myself, I'm seeing you. This is kind of interesting, to be honest, for me. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about your game now. I think this is a very interesting project that you are trying to accomplish. And so I'm really I would say we should just dive in right now, right?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
I think if you don't mind, I would start asking some questions because I haven't looked a lot about to what the game is about, and I'm really interested in just hearing what you're trying to accomplish. So
Sure.
my first question would be, first of all, what was your motivation for starting to develop the game at all?
Sure. Well, the game's been in development for about 4.5 years or so, but I've always kind of wanted to make it. I grew up playing all sorts of games. I was kind of addicted when I was a kid, but one of my favorites back in the day was Cutthroat's Terror on the High Seas, and that was just the most flawless game to me. It was just perfect. But unfortunately, it was riddled with bugs, as a lot of games were back then. But it was there was a lot of game breaking bugs there, so it kind of forced you to kind of play it over and over, hoping that these particular bugs wouldn't happen every time you went through it. But yeah, there was never anything really after that, other than a few other like Sid Meier's Pirates and those kind of games that kind of stood out, but they never really scratched that itch. So yeah, about maybe 10-15 years ago, I really wanted to kind of move from web development into game development, but there was no real opportunity. And about 5-6 years ago, I just started taking a look and figuring it all out, and decided to go ahead and try and make it myself. So heavily inspired by games back then, and yeah, just kind of went for it. Downloaded Unity one day, did a few tutorials, and got stuck in. Yeah, that's the main motivation. I just sick of people not making a game like it. Nobody was doing it. A nice RTS with ships and that kind of stuff going on. It's hard to come by. A lot of them are either centralized around trade and that kind of thing, and they kind of lack on the combat factor, or they'll be fully RTS with no proper like immersion and no way to kind of, I don't know, you didn't really scale well in a lot of those kind of games. It's yeah. So I thought Cutthroats did it really well, and I took a lot of inspiration on the progression factor from that, and yeah, there you go.
Have you ever played a title of the Sea Dog series? Is this something that you know?
I've looked into a lot of them. So I started streaming about 4 years ago. When I started the development bit, I started streaming, and people were flooding me with just suggestions from other games, and Sea Dogs did come up a few times. So I've looked into it. I haven't played it. A lot of those kind of games, I haven't actually played them, but yeah, I've looked into them, seen what kind of mechanics they have, and yeah, a lot of really nice ones in there. So yeah, would be one of those.
What's the current state of the game?
It's in a decent spot at the moment. Up until last year, around August, it was a hobby kind of a project. Well, I mean, I started taking it seriously, I guess, about maybe 2.5 years ago. I restarted for the second time due to limitations with the multiplayer engine I was using, or the framework, sorry, and stuff like that, and decided to just go ahead and do it properly this time. So I restarted from scratch, and started with a kind of an entity component system kind of idea that I had, and I ended up being able to scale things way better than the previous versions and that kind of crack. So it's kind of built on that for about maybe 2.5-3 years now. last August, I left development 100%, and I continued to build it out. Was trying to rush out a release actually last year. I thought that I could just rush it into early access and be done with that kind of phase of it and just start building on it properly then if I was able. But that didn't work out. It's just I pushed it into a test environment and people were going ham testing it, and it just wasn't in a good spot. So instead of that, I was contacted by a publisher earlier on this year, and after that one fell through, I contacted Microprose, and they were very happy with it. So the current state of the game is last year it was in a decent spot. Now it's in a very, very, very good spot. The testers are going ham at it and really feed me a lot of vital information to kind of polish it up and get it out there. The core mechanics are in a really good spot. They were always kind of in a good spot, but they just needed tidying up. This year I spent I'd say about 6 months of this year was refactoring, rebuilding, ripping out anything that was rushed and redoing it in a better way, and that's improved pretty much everything for us. So yeah.
When you are talking about core mechanics, what are the core mechanics of the game, and what can we expect if we want to start playing it, I guess, in a couple of months?
Sure. I don't know about a couple of months, but the core mechanics at the moment, there's a campaign map. So if you've ever played Mount & Blade, there's a campaign map. Then there's the character that does all the stuff on the campaign map, builds up an army, and then takes it into a battle map. So it's very similar in that regard. The campaign map at the moment is a fantasy map. We're hoping to get a Caribbean map. It's in a relatively good spot at the moment, but it needs a lot more work. But we're hoping to get that in there as well. So multiple campaigns are possible and available just from how it was built in the beginning. And basically, like the trade and missions and treasure hunting, NPCs on the campaign map, all of that is in a really good spot at the moment. So that would be the main campaign mechanic. At that point, then you can go into a battle map. So you can take on enemy fleets. You can take on islands of varying factions and types, I guess, of difficulties. And then for later on, there's some secret stuff that is like after the players have defeated the game. Basically, they can still find challenge later on, and it's similar. It's played with the same mechanics, but it's a very different style of play. So hopefully you'll enjoy that one. A few gotchas in there. But yeah, the mechanics, to go into more detail. So the campaign map has treasure hunting, which is done very differently, I guess, to other games. It gives you a vague location. You have to actually go and find it through exploration. It gives you very little detail. It doesn't give you an arrow or anything like that to the treasure. You just have to recognize an area and send search parties on the campaign map. There's also missions that you can take on. You can engage the NPCs. There's a bunch of different factions. So there's 6 colonial factions. There's a couple of pirate factions, and there's tribals that are not affiliated with factions. There's also a bunch of merchants that are going around that are kind of non-affiliated as well. So there's like things for early game. And as you go on, there's bigger challenges as your fleet grows. So the main mechanic is grow your fleet, take them into battle against other stuff. So there's a sailing mechanic then in the battle map. You can sail around your flagship, which will change if you lose it, but you'll lose all your bonuses for it. Or there's RTS, so you can hit T at any point during the game and go from sailing to in the sky, telling your units what to do, microing them, managing them. And then another mechanic of that then is invading islands. So you can tell one of your ships to drop anchor and start deploying its crew to the beach any of the islands. So there's a bunch of different islands. In most of the maps, there'll be multiple, but there'll be one main island with capture points. So you can drop crew off anywhere and drop cannons off as well and use them to bombard from range, or you can tell all your crew to just go straight to the main island, deploy all the troops and start sweeping through the cities and towns and whatnot. There's a bunch of different unit types as well. So not only are you building your ships, customizing them, making them like say for example you have 3 or 4 brigs, maybe one of them is just fully laden with crew, and that's your troop transport then, and there's 5 different types of core units that you have in the beginning, and those are sailors, pistoliers, muskets, grenadiers, and officers. And officers have bonus attacks and can shoot down two men no problem, and they don't usually lose a sword fight. They all vary in cost as well, so as you're going through the campaign, you're trying to get good deals on those kind of guys as well, and filling up each of your ships with crews. You can also board enemy ships, so they come into effect there as well. So there's that kind of stuff going on as well. Yeah,
So
it's
would you
very
say that your
just a
game
bit too much, honestly. Sorry, go ahead.
quite heavily inspired, or in regards to Sid Meier's Pirates, or what would you say is the biggest inspiration of the game?
Sure. The biggest is definitely Cutthroats and Mount and Blade style stuff. Sid Meier's very, very similar to Cutthroats. I honestly think Cutthroats was a spin-off. There is very few... some of the mechanics in Sid Meier's Pirates I wasn't a huge fan of, like the dancing and the sword fighting and stuff like that. There's no third person running around or anything like that. It's more you're the commander of a fleet, and it's kind of like it's kind of geared towards that versus an individual person. But yeah, that's pretty much that. The inspiration for it is it's not Sid Meier's Pirates 2. It's not going to be that game. It will be very similar to, like I said, Mount and Blade style progression, and build up your own fleet and have this big powerful fleet that you can micromanage and bring through the world and capture islands and take over the world, and all that kind of stuff, and uncover some stuff, and yeah, that kind of story. You build your own kind of story in it, do missions, that kind of crack. There you go.
In regards to the missions that you mentioned, what would be the typical missions? Just attacking towns, attacking other ships, or really some story-driven elements?
Yeah, so the core at the moment doesn't have much story-driven stuff to it, but there is contextual missions where, like when you're starting out, you have one small ship and you're taking it around, trying to make a bit of money for yourself. The missions you can take on at that point are delivery missions, maybe prisoner transports, that kind of stuff. Really simple, kind of go from point A to point B. There you go. Now you get a little bit of relationship boost with that faction and that mayor, and you can take on other missions from them. There is some based on the wars and stuff that are going on between the factions, they'll offer you different stuff. There is some special missions as well that you'll only be able to get if you have good relations with the mayor, and you go to their place and you ask them. There's a place where you can kind of talk to the mayor, and it gives you a bunch of speech bubbles that you can click on. Some of those missions will be more special, bigger rewards, bigger XP boosts. With XP, you can unlock various ships and that kind of crack. They would be more centralized around if England and France are at war, then England will offer you a bounty on a French captain or a French fleet, or take over one of the small islands or something like that and hold it. Those kind of missions will show up for you.
This does remind me a little bit of Port Royal 2, Port Royal 3. Those missions were quite often there too. and you could also annex towns for different factions in that game. Have you had a time, or have you managed to look at that one too in the past?
I've played one of the port trials in the past. Yeah, I don't have the annexing yet. We might have something like that in the future. The privateering aspect of it is very much in its infancy at the moment, but doing missions for certain factions is there. It's just now a case of allowing it to just change hands, which wouldn't honestly be that difficult at the moment, but it's not something that's in there at the moment. But this is one of the joys of streaming the game is I get suggestions like that a lot, and I have a massive backlog of suggestions from people and improvements to make and ideas come like that very, very quickly. So absolutely gigantic amount of features that can go in there, and it's all about honestly just prioritization and cleanup at the moment. For me, it's very much a polishing kind of task with regards to getting everything secure, acting on the testers' feedback is what I'm currently working on. I'd love to. There are some major features planned. They're not like completely what you call it. They're not like core to the game. The game doesn't have to be in a certain state to add them. So there's a lot of stuff on that kind of back burner. And judging or based off how the game does and how well it's received, we just have so much stuff that we can add. So it's all about that really. Hopefully modding support and that kind of crack as well. We can even defer some of those to that kind of pile as well, if you know what I mean. There's a massive Trello there that's just littered with stuff. Honestly, it's great having all that feedback.
So guys, if you want, you can input your messages into the chat either on our Discord or on IrishJohnGames stream, and then we will answer your questions as well. For now, I have 2 more questions for you, and then I would also like to go to audience questions afterwards. So my first question would be, what are your short-term and what are your long-term development goals? Because you just mentioned there are so many ideas, so much that you would like to implement. So what is really what you want to do in the next couple of months, and then maybe in a couple of years too?
Sure. Well, in the short term, the main focus at the moment is test feedback and working on that. Like I said, this year has been kind of crazy. Up until the start of the year, I thought we were just gonna, place it into early access and just go ham. Hopefully, being able to just stay afloat as we work through things. But with micropros coming along, they're actually building up our ships and stuff like that. They're making them look absolutely gorgeous, and we're replacing bits and pieces here and there as we go. The first half of the year was centralized around that deal, and also refactoring the ship stuff. So all the AI for all the ships was all redone and implemented different patterns to make it better. And right after that was in a really good solid place, I was able to move on to the character refactor, and that took every ounce of sanity I had, because it was just rushed for a long time, and it was some things were in there for 2.5 years and hadn't been touched since. And so that was the main focus this year. A lot of polishing, a lot of replacing of animations and stuff like that. Like there was no reloading animations, for example. It was built into the character shooting. So challenges like, how do I stop this guy from moving now and tell him to reload his musket? It's going to take him ages, but that's one of the things, the mechanics there. How am I gonna do this with this old system? It just won't work. So I had to rip all of that out and redo it, and that took a long time. So this year was all about polishing and cleaning stuff like that. I added the crew overboard. They were never able to go overboard before. They were never able to go into the water. Now they can swim and go on land, stuff like that. Things like that would never have been possible without the publisher coming along and supporting me. Like I said, up until last year, it was all a hobby, this year it's kind of taken everything to the next level. So short-term goals in that regard, it's all about the testers' feedback at the moment. We have some absolutely awesome testers, including micropros and some people that I've met from the streaming, which was brilliant. Like, there's just so much feedback coming back, and they're noticing things that after you've been looking at something for 4 years, everything kind of blends together. Everything seems like it's working, and you don't get to see these mad things that they're noticing. So a lot of that kind of crack happening. Just short-term significant goals is get the thing extremely solid and like ready for more stuff to be built on top of it, replacing anything that's bad. There's maybe one more system that I have to remove and redo, and that's the relationship stuff. So at the moment, it's tied to the faction. I want to split that and move it in so that it's tied to faction and mayor and captain. So those three things are going to be difficult to split up, but it should be all right. Other than that, short term, just keep it. We've got continuous integration now as well. So every time we do a stream, I try and stream every night, 8:00 GMT, and I just try and get through bits and pieces here and there, and take stuff from the people giving feedback and all that kind of crack as well. And every time I finish the stream, I put out a build, and then the testers are able to see the changes I did without any stuff from me. Like they get to see it the next day. So that's become a really great game changer, honestly. And like I said, micropros testing as well, given a lot of like video feedback and screenshots and this kind of stuff, and they do a great job of that. In terms of short-term goals, that's the main thing anyway. Not really adding much to it, but definitely replacing stuff that is broken or not quite there or doesn't feel great to play with, such as the faction stuff, the relation stuff. There's a couple of other stuff I wanted to kind of replace on, but they're good enough. You know what I mean? Like, you have to kind of make the decisions on what's all right to leave there. I think most of it is actually. Like, I've gotten feedback. It feels really nice to play, especially like if you're sailing around in quite a large ship and you've got 20 cannons on your ship, and you're laying into other ships, like in third person sailing mode. So that kind of stuff is great to hear, like that it's gotten to the point now where it's like really fun to do that kind of stuff. Long-term goals, it's quite an ambitious project. There's a lot of stuff that I would absolutely love. I absolutely adore co-op games. I love like just being able to jump in with other people and share the experience. I would love to add co-op. In a previous iteration of the game, it did have co-op, and I know I'm able to do it and all of that kind of stuff. It's just about time. It will take a while to change everything, to upgrade it or whatever. Some of the refactor changes recently have allowed me to kind of make it so that it wouldn't be such a big job to replace a lot of it, but it still needs quite a bit of work that way. But yeah, long-term goals, there's other stuff like various monsters and that kind of crack. A lot of people don't want to hear about the monsters and the mythological stuff. That's all. You can completely ignore it. It's just there for people who have way too strong a fleet. But there is a couple of things there that can allow you to have a little bit of fun, even though you have 20 ships in your fleet. They're all, 90 gun ship at the line, and there's nothing left to fight because you've killed everybody. These things will always be there that you can go in and they will 100% take out half your fleet, no problem to them. And it's a very different kind of idea to it. I say that there won't be anything there, but as you play through the campaign and you get a better fleet, the ships and stuff that are roaming do go to various ports in the map, and they will buy other ships, and they will try and reach your level or surpass it, depending on their alliances and that kind of crack. So yeah, that's the main thing. Anyway, to keep it I'm always trying to find a way to keep it challenging for the player. So that's why I kind of added all of that other. Some people would call it rubbish, but it's there anyway. It's there. You can completely ignore it. You have to actually finish the game in order to even see it. So yeah, there you go. And it's not Pirates 2 that we're making here. It's supposed to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of there's a lot of joy to having a massive fleet and sending 1,000 men to land and like microing them through this gigantic town covered in towers and forts and that kind of crack, and trying to keep your ships alive, the ones that you really care about, and bombarding areas that you want to push through. There's a lot of fun to that aspect of it. So there you go. Long-term goals, just iterate.
Now that you mentioned your long-term goals, what do you believe? When will you be able to release an early access version, or maybe even the full game?
That's been the topic of a lot of discussion. There's I personally want this out, I think, more than anybody else who's looking forward to it. I would really love to release as soon as possible, has always been my response to it. But now that we have the publisher and all of that, like it's whenever we're proper happy with it, whenever it feels like an actual full complete game that you'll enjoy, that you won't be thinking, geez, I hope there's not like a time where the game isn't fully there yet. And I don't want to, there's a lot of that kind of rubbish coming out on Steam at the moment, like just incomplete stuff, bug riddled stuff, and DLCs then to fix their issues. I don't want that. I want something really fun that you can just switch off for 4 hours a day and just play it and have fun with it, and really feel like you're getting more powerful as the game goes on, and that you I don't know, I want to get that old feeling of playing a proper game back in the day, and actually, yeah. There you go. A useless answer. I do apologize.
No worries. It's perfectly understandable given how difficult it sometimes is to get everything to a level, I think, where you yourself as the developer are happy with the game, with the product itself. So I really get that. I think I would for now go over 2 of the audience's questions, and then maybe I will have some more questions for you in case nothing else pops up. So Misanelli asks as the first question, I'm interested, as you mentioned that you loved Cutthroat's Terror on the High Seas, how much will Rise of Piracy be inspired with that old game, which I really loved?
Yeah, I absolutely adored that game. I thought it was the perfect pirate game, honestly. Incredible. It's heavily inspired. The initial progression, I was actually just looking at, every now and again I'll go back and I'll look at like, I have a Discord channel with a bunch of screenshots just of things I wanted to keep in Rise of Piracy that are from other places. And the initial slap of you're this guy, you're sailing around, you don't have much, and there you go, just go for it now, just try and make your way through the world. That is there, and I think it feels very much like Cutthroats. The map obviously isn't the Caribbean, but we're hoping to get that in. As a solo developer until the start of this year, it was too much too much work. I really wanted it to be accurate. You know what I mean? If I'm going with real life, I want to take height maps of Bermuda, and I want to, do that and cover it and look at old maps and that kind of crack. That wasn't possible as a solo dev. But like now that the guys from Microprose are on board, like maybe it's a wee bit more achievable, and we've had small conversations about that kind of stuff. But well, like I said, it'll all depend on how well the game is going and how well it's received. But yeah, in terms of Cutthroats, the thing I think that sets Cutthroats and Rise of Piracy and games kind of like Mount and Blade and that kind of style, the things that sets them apart is the fact that you're in a campaign map traveling around, getting your units instead of building a barracks and training 20 units. So it's RTS, but it's a different dynamic of it. And I think it's definitely going to feel familiar for players that have played Cutthroats, and there's more to it. Like you can sail around your own flagship, you can join your fleet when you spawn in with your 10 or 20 ships. You're right in there, and you can customize how they spawn and stuff like that in each battle. Their initial positions, if you know what I mean. But you can, you start with very little, and you end up just having this very powerful army that you're bringing around this gigantic world. And that's kind of how it felt for me anyway, except you were just moments away from a game-breaking bug back in Cutthroats that would completely end your game, or your crew are getting restless, and all of a sudden you're thrown in jail. Well, I don't have any of that, all right? That's not going to happen. You're not going to randomly run out of food, or your crew isn't going to randomly mutiny. That stuff happened a lot back in Cutthroats. It was shocking, but yeah, there you go. I'd love to get some of the sound bites as well. There was a very what's the word I'm looking for? A very nostalgic sound or voice line from Cutthroats was pots and pans, and you'd hear that on loop. If you were chilling out at a market somewhere, you just hear somebody shouting pots and pans. That always got me. So there you go. Very, very inspired. Thanks for the question.
Okay, then the next question is Diefendorf asks, I only have so much time in a day. What sets your game apart in such a way that I will spend my precious time playing your game and not others?
I guess you're gonna have to just try it out and see if you like it. I think one of the things is you can pick up Rise of Piracy, play it for an hour, and it'll just keep saving for you automatically. So you're not gonna lose mad progress. And you can put as much or as little time into it as you like. The kind of feel that you get from the progression, I think, is why people are enjoying it. It's you start off with nothing or very little. At the moment, it's a 3-gun, depending on your class. But at the moment, I'm playing through with a 3-gun brig, 3 on each side, and it's nice to have a bunch of other ships with you. You don't have to always pick your slowest, most powerful ship as well to be your flagship, but it does feel nice to have a 90 guns going absolutely ham on the side of your ship and just wasting a thing that's come up on you trying to board. So I think those kind of moments really do set the game apart. Being able as well to jump into RTS from sailing to RTS back to sailing is really nice dynamic. I don't think you'll find that in other games. As well, putting your troops on land and actually caring about the ships that you have and the crews that are on them, even though they're just these faceless little soldiers that you got, you do end up having a kind of a bond with the ships. You never really like seeing the feedback of one of them has been sunk, especially if you've named it something funny and you know that right, okay, that's gone now. Restart or keep her lit.
You mean Boaty McBoatface?
Exactly, yeah. There's actually a thing on the stream where people can redeem to add a name of their own choosing into the game. And some of them are just shocking. One of my favorites would be Wave Slapper. Craig.
Owen Codes has another question,
Go on.
which is my question is how big can your fleet empire be? As in how many islands can you have in your faction, and can you ally with a friend on a server? How will that work? Is it more like you need to play on a selected server, or is it all like selected at random? How will that side of things work?
So if it's co-op, I think it would be, yeah, everybody kind of has their own little fleet and they're all allies, and I think we lock it down for that. In terms of servers, the campaign at the moment is single player. The PvP is a completely separate thing, and it's all based off Steam servers. Sorry, let me just open up the question. How big can your fleet get? So it used to be 15, but I think I increased it to 30 ships. Honestly, I don't know. I have to load test that, but you can have a lot of ships in the map. But the thing is, if you have 4 fleets, which is the maximum in a what you call it, in a in an encounter battle. So an encounter will happen if 2 fleets go to battle with each other, and other ships can get involved, or sorry, other fleets can get involved. So if you're jumping in with 4 other fleets and they all have 30 ships each, then the game will probably struggle, honestly, especially if it's a very high fidelity background area. So that kind of stuff, those limitations aren't fully tested just yet. I might make it as a customizable thing for those of you with incredible computers. But I developed most of the game on a potato. It was an absolutely useless machine. Last year I upgraded to a 3070 from a 1060, I think it was. RTX, and it performed really well with 15, but I brought it up then, and it still performs really well. And like I said, we're always polishing that kind of stuff. And I added a thing actually only 2 months ago now that boosted our performance, something serious. So still, a lot of that kind of stuff to come, a lot of optimization to come, and yeah, I just want it to be as epic as it can be in terms of sizes. In terms of how many islands you can conquer the whole map. You can take everything. In terms of troops as well, soldiers, as many as you can fit on your fleet or on your ships is the answer there. You can have. You don't have to be a pirate in the game. You can take 5 or 6 heavy, like cargo ships and use them and just fill it up with trade stuff, and you'll just be attacked by pirates every now and again. And away you go. The NPC factions are allyable. If you do enough missions for one of them, your slider with them will go up. You can potentially ally all of them, but it would take a wee while. And they randomly do go to war with each other and stuff like that. If they're what you call it? If their slider gets low enough for each other's relations to each other, they'll go to full-on war, and you'll see fleets being dispatched from various places on the campaign map and going to actually invade other ports, and that can happen to yourself as well, and you can lose ports that way. But you do have the opportunity to jump in, get involved, and stop them. There you go.
In terms of trading, since you mentioned it just now, how much of a thought is it in development, and what do you think will be there in the full game?
Sure. I actually got a bug list about that recently from Microprose. It's in a decent spot, but there's some small challenges there with regards to the ecosystem of the map itself and how it's moving the costs around. How far is it at the moment? It's in a decent spot. There's a marketplace that you can go to on every island. with certain rarities and costs. Every port will need something at times and will produce other things, and it's that kind of ecosystem. And the AI or the NPCs move around the goods as well. So a place will have a high demand for something, and a ship will actually go and trade with something and try and bring it to those places. If it's not interrupted, it might satisfy that need itself. If you are the one that gets it to that threshold, it'll just switch out to something else being needed later on. And yeah, there you go. It's all based on like day numbers and stuff like that. So at a certain time, it'll decide it needs stuff. And yeah, there you go. There's also special missions that are generated off of that. So they'll decide that they need something. And if you talk to the mayor, he might say, "Go and get me 1,000 of these over there." And if you do, you get extra XP and stuff like that. And we're gone. Oh,
sorry.
There we go. No problem.
I think out for a moment here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yep, hear you.
Okay, because I'm now at my laptop.
Uh-huh.
Because I don't know what happened on my desktop, but good
No
thing that I
problem.
have a backup always.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, since you mentioned, I caught that trading is in a decent spot right now, and I wanted to ask you on that in regards to the dynamics of trading prices. If you trade with the other factions and so on, are the prices going to change?
Yes, the price is derived based off of how much is like existing on the map that can be taken, if you know what I mean. So it's a day by day system, and every 100 to maybe 200 days, a place will decide, okay, I need something from a completely separate part of the map, and it's all based off of like every tradable item has a region that it's commonly found at, and a rarity. So there's, I think, 6 different rarities, and you can get it from looting other ships. You can get them from taking islands over. The islands themselves will produce things that are from their region, and yeah, it'll just keep. It's like every kind of tick for that system. It'll kind of balance it out. So that was quite a complicated system to get right, and it does have a few bugs currently, but it's in an okay spot. You can definitely use trade to make a lot of money if you go down that route, but yeah, it's got some work to be done in there for sure.
And I know it from Port Royal because I played that game very much in my youth when I was like 10 years old and so, where you could also build production buildings yourself, have some production going on for various goods and wares. Do you plan on implementing something similar in your game?
We don't have that, but customization of the islands is a task, and that might be a part of that, perhaps.
So
at the moment,
you are planning at least and to some degree to being able to customize the lands, maybe build some barracks or something similar.
Perhaps, yeah. There's special buildings that we can swap out with other buildings. At the moment, there's an armory and a barracks that spawn on islands. Especially the colonial factions have them, and the barracks will periodically spawn defenders to come attack you in squads. The armories are there so that you can put in your least good units, and they'll be able to arm themselves later on. So we can definitely have a system where we can add the chance of spawning those, or maybe even specify where they are. But that would all be a part of a task that isn't even started yet, hasn't been planned properly or anything. So that's it's a future. It's a bit of scope creep, but it's not a part of the game at the moment.
No, but I think it's really great to actually actually managed to implement trading to such a degree that it's quite dynamic already. And if you can also implement it in some way that you have customizable islands, I think this is really an enormous accomplishment, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd give it a go. Have a look anyway.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you if people were interested in joining a test play. Would you be up to allow that, or how does it work for you?
At the moment, it's closed. It's only a group of like close friends and people that I've kind of invited. Every now and again, I will expand that. But the best way, I guess, to get a copy is just to hang out. Honestly, it's like I don't know. I don't know if there's any way we'll have an opt-in kind of thing outside of that, because there's people literally that have been there for 2-3 years that that would like it. So that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's difficult to say. Yeah, in terms of, you know, if you want to join the playtest or whatever, we might open it up later on to an open test. That would be more realistic to kind of to wait for that, and hopefully that will be within the year, I would say. Yeah, I don't want to talk timelines because, like I said, I haven't, like, it's been a touchy ASAP kind of answer always. So, yeah, ASAP. Maybe you can all jump in on the playtest version, perhaps. There you go. Yeah.
And have you decided on anything in regards to pricing? Is it going to be 20, 30 euros or something different?
No information on that at the moment, I'm afraid.
Okay.
That's a decision that has to be made with the publisher. So that's just
understandable. Yeah.
Mhm.
How
It'll
did
be
you manage to
reasonably
get?
priced though, for sure.
Okay,
Sorry?
how did you manage to get Micropose on board? They hit you up, or did you hit them up?
So earlier on this year, back in January, right when I was looking for a new contract, I was contract web developer for most of my career. So I quit out of my last job back in August, and I had, you know, until January. Then I was kind of running on fumes, and I was contacted by a large publisher, and I took them seriously. I was, you know, I was approached by a lot of publishers over the previous year as well, but none of them really spoke to only a few of them, and it never really was something that would be attractive to me, to be honest with you. But yeah, this one was quite substantially bigger in January than most of the others, and I gave them about a month, and we were back and forth. I learned a lot from them on how they operate and what they're, you know, what kind of stuff that they do, and what's to be expected, and that kind of fell through. So after that, I was chatting to, well, during that I was chatting to some people in the you know, from the streaming community that I've met over the years, luckily, and one of them mentioned Microprose, and I went ahead and I thought, what do I have to lose at this point? It's either, you know, get something like this or jump into another contract. So I threw them an email, and within 4 hours they contacted me back, and I was on a call with them within a very short amount of time, and a couple of days later I was signing a deal with them. They were great, and yeah, it was, you know, I grew up playing their games, and I honestly couldn't believe that I was chatting to them. So yeah, there you go. It's brilliant.
And for now, or maybe also for the future, are you developing the game yourself entirely, or have you got some help in some way at least?
So I've had help with the UI from a good friend of since, you know, a few years now. Every now and again, I'll get a bit of help on that aspect of it. In terms of the programming and pretty much everything else, it was always just me. This year now, Micropros are helping with the marketing side of things, obviously, and the and modeling. They're doing a lot of modeling at the moment, and the models coming out of them are absolutely incredible. So there's that kind of stuff, but it's mostly me. Yeah, it's mostly just myself. A little bit of help on level design and stuff like that as well from that same person doing the UI, but for the most part, yeah, it's myself. Yeah.
What are you planning in regards to ships, since you mentioned that they are doing a lot of modeling, your publisher? Are there going to be different ship types, and if
Yeah.
yes, then how many are there going to be?
Yeah, so that's changing a lot actually here and there. We currently have gotten a brand new brig, and it looks just miles ahead of everything else that we have. There's a lot of detail in there and attention to detail that the older ships that we have just don't have. So they have a list that they're making. It's mostly golden age like around 1800s kind of style stuff. I'm really not sure on exactly what types there are, but there's quite a few of them. Yeah. At the moment in the game there's 30, and three of those are not game ready. Everything else though is playable and saleable and all of that. So I'm hoping that all of those will be replaced, or at least that will have a similar number that you'll be able to sail around in these awesome ships that they're making. They're incredible. So yeah.
But I mean, 30 ships, if I understood it correctly, this is quite the accomplishment, right? This is a lot of variety.
Yeah, true. They've been making like systems to make them easier to produce. So hopefully, but like I said, I'm not 100% sure, honestly. I just trust the process kind of thing. They seem to be like, they're Micropros. They know what they're at. You know what I mean? So yeah, hopefully it'll be a similar amount at the very least. Yeah, they'll be much better quality than the ones that are there anyway. That's the main thing.
Since I haven't got any more questions, and the audience also doesn't seem to have some at the moment, I wanted to ask you if you would be able to show us a trailer or something, just to have a look at the game.
Sure. Do you want me to share it here, like in the Discord, like share my screen, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think
Sure.
it should work in regards to Twitch as well, right?
Uh-huh. They've all seen it quite a few times now. Every time we get a raid or anything like that, we always have to watch it.
Yeah, meanwhile, I got my internet back on my desktop PC. I don't know what happened.
Excellent. Good stuff. All right. Screen one, I guess. Or applications. We have to do it application-wise or we don't get the audio.
Yeah.
Hopefully. There we go. Okay, so that's the Micropros homepage where we're still there. They put this up there a couple of weeks ago when we were announcing that we were working together. And here's the Steam page. And I'll just throw this on for you. Is the audio okay?
Yes, I think. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, whoops. Sorry. There you are.
I think perfect. Thank you very much, because I think it really showcased your game greatly, and it really showed what we've just been talking about, right, in the last 50 minutes. You could really see what the game was about in the trailer, in my opinion.
The what you call it, I should mention the trailer was created by Microprose, and they didn't use any debug stuff. So they played through the campaign, and all of that footage that you've seen there was from a gameplay run through. There you go.
Okay, so since I'm not seeing that there's anything else left in regards to questions or something, I would like to thank you very much for talking with me today on this podcast. And
Thank you.
we are also going to upload it to YouTube, because our audience there is a lot bigger compared to here, especially in regards to the live audience. And I think it has been a really great opportunity to show your game, to show a game that we as Piracy Ahoy have not yet have had so much interaction with. And I'm actually really looking forward to playing this someday. I really hope that one day this is going to be something that I can play on my computer.
Excellent. Thanks a million. It's been a great crack. And remember, if you have any questions ever, I will be live on Twitch every day except Sunday at 8:00 GMT, and I encourage you to ask questions. And thanks again to yourself here and Pirates Ahoy. The link is pinned there as well in my chat. I'll keep it there for the rest of the evening. But yeah, great community you have here as well. I really like looking through the channels you have there with all of the screenshots and information about every pirate game. It seems it's really an amazing place.
Yeah. We are trying to have a variety of pirate games on our server. We are mostly, in regards to the Sea Dogs games, a lot more active, but we wanted to broaden our horizons in the last couple of months. And so, first of all, with Alex and his game that what was it called, Tattered Sails, and then now with Rise of Piracy, I think it's important to also broaden the horizons after 20 years of Sea Dogs games, and check out some other games too.
Excellent, great stuff. Yeah, it sounds brilliant. And I believe you're working on a mod or something, is it? Or is that yeah?
Yeah, correctly. So
well.
we are also working on getting basically a Sea Dogs modification up to standard, to a modern engine, to Unity most likely. But this is really in the early stages yet. So we will see how that goes in the coming months and next year, definitely.
Brilliant. Excellent stuff. Good stuff. Best of luck with it.
Okay, then thank you very much again, and all the best.
You too. Take it easy. Thanks a million to everybody who hung out as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.